Oh! All right, so we got a meteor ball, but when we use it, it's still there. That's the thing that we're trying to get working now. So a couple things we need to make we need to -1. We need to decrement that ball from the gauge, but we also need to like add some effect. I think I'm not a fan of like doing too much at once, like adding the effect while I'm getting it to work. So maybe we'll just have it disappear. Um, but let's just start and let's just get it to work. Let's just get it to work first, and then we can optimize it later. Um, so what we need to do is bring up our meteor gauge, bring up all of our things that we need. So let's get our gauge widget blueprint. Um, right. So it doesn't look exciting because everything is added dynamically. We just have this empty box waiting for balls to be added. Um, and if we look at the graph, we can see, let's see, we have add meteor icon. That's our only exposed function. So we're going to need a remove meteor icon. So let's add a function. Um, it'll be remove meteor ball icon. Isn't that what we called it? Icon. Remove meteor icon. So when we add it, what we're doing is we're creating the widget, and then we are just appending it to the bottom of the box. But when we remove it, probably instead of passing in which one we're going to remove, we can have the icon itself manage the removing. And then in here, remove, all it's going to do is, fill in the empty spot. And if we have a vertical box, right, and we remove the center thing, it's going to automatically shift everything up. It's going to automatically shift everything up. So that might not work either, right? Because we want to, temporarily, we want to have an empty slot that shrinks and then disappears. Yeah, this is harder than I thought, but there's so many different ways to do it, right? And I'm trying to think now who should be responsible for removing the icon. So let's bring up the meteor icon widget blueprint. And right now there are, what functions we have? On mouse button down. So what we do when it's down is we call dispatch, meteor ball dispatch. And what happens at that point is the controller spawns a new 3D ball in the 3D space because this is the 2D space. So what we want to happen is the ball dispatches, whoever else is responsible does its stuff. They do their thing. But the icon itself disappears and then lets the gauge know that it's disappeared so it can animate away. So let's see. So on mouse button down, we can either make it disappear or make a flumph, like a flare, go up or something. But we're going to start super simple. We're going to call dispatch event, and we are also going to make it invisible. So let's try that. Display. How can we make it invisible? Set the icon itself. We'll get the icon. Get display name. Nope. Hide. What's the word? Show. No. Visible. Ah. Set visibility. Let's move these out of the way. Let's move this up here. So we want to set it hidden. Collapse would mean that the others would move up. Hidden would just mean, I think it leaves that gap. So let's just see what happens. All right, so immediately I see that I'm going to have to fix this. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make the gauge start filled because, but since then we know that in the last we've shown that the player state is always the source of truth. That's just easier to think about how we can set things. So let's go to the player state, the arcade hoops game mode. That's where we are now. And these variables, once we change them, the UI will reflect it. So let's see, where do we set fire gauge value? Start fire gauge. See, here's our no. We know something is wrong here. So let's set it to the max value. I think that means it'll be maxed out when we start. But it still didn't make the ball. Probably because it didn't fire. All right, so when it toggles from off to on is when the ball happens, which is what it should do, or when we make a shot. So let's do that, and maybe we will call incremented. That'll be part of the no. Let's just as a test. Maybe this will make the ball show up. Yeah, there we go. Just for testing purposes. Now, when we do this, it disappears. That's what we want. Now, let's call this a couple times so we have 3 balls. That way we can play with pulling out the middle one, pulling out the bottom one, different kinds of tests. So this should make 3 balls appear. Gosh, so nice. Ball disappears and they don't slide up. Now notice another ball didn't appear because we have a max of 3. And just because they're invisible doesn't mean they're not there. So there are still 3. But that's fine. We're not testing that now. So we got 3. Now just because it'll only take me like a second to do this, let's just show that the collapsed will make, this will give us a feeling of what it's like to have them just slide up without any animation. Let's see if we like that. That doesn't feel too bad. That feels not so bad. That might even be doable. Like, I don't mind it. I don't think we need to animate it. I don't think we need to. I mean, that sounds like something we can do in a patch later. I just want to get this to work because too much of my life is spent perfecting my games when I just need to get it out. And I just gotta think of what my wife would say. She'd be like, "What are you doing? Just finish it. Isn't it done?" I'm like, "I want to add another. Just it's done. You can throw a ball, you get it in, it works." That's not good, but I need some like good in between. And like right now, like I just want to keep going and going till it's perfect. Let's compromise, and that is good enough. I gotta tell myself that's good enough. We don't need it to animate. I like it. It works. Ah, ugh. Um, no. Now, what would be good instead of designing a particle effect? Can I just get one in there real quick and see what it looks like? So let's just make one. Particle system, Niagara. Spawn system at location. Now, radial burst, something just as a placeholder. And the location is, ooh. This is tough because this I don't know. I'm thinking because it's in 2D space. Let's just see what happens. Yeah, that's what I thought. So that doesn't make sense. It's not a scene component. It's a 2D widget. So I feel like I already solved for this somewhere. I need to get the finger location. But the finger location is only is it all right, so I can't get it from in here. So how do I know where this is? Where is this widget at? So maybe I know it has something to do with cache geometry. I'm not really the widget's cache geometry. Can I split this? Can I split it? This is a geometry structure. Get location, get local size, transform scalar to local. How do I take this cache geometry and turn it into a location in 3D space? So is under location. No. Position? No. Get local size. Local to viewport. Viewport position, a 2D structure. Now, there is no depth, but what if I really have no idea what's going on, but let's just try this. Uh, let's see. Hey, get out of here. Um, make vector. Break vector. So we're taking this 2D vector and we'll make Z, I don't know, 100. Now, I really have no idea what's going to happen, but that's okay. This is, that's okay. It looks like nothing happened. Um, viewport position. The position in the space of the of other widgets. The position in the game's viewport. Maybe this? I don't know. No. Um, no. Maybe it's no. Hmm. You see how much time I'm wasting already with this? Um, now what I could do is instead of looking at this gauge, I got it. Um, I am firing off this ball dispatch, meteor ball dispatch. So it's a special dispatch that gives the 3D space its chance to do its thing. So I'm going to meteor ball dispatch and see where it's bound. It's bound in the candy dispenser. So what happens is probably want to do this particle effect. And that, yeah, of course this is what we want to do. All right. Niagara spawn at location. Is it connected? Yep. And we want the same location. And we want just like a little test system. So we have a radial burst. Okay. Oh, come on. I definitely thought that was going to work. Let's see what it is. Radial burst. Why didn't that work? Why can't... Oh. Radial burst. Well, that's definitely not happening. Now, auto activate. Yeah, okay. Rotation. This all looks good. Why isn't it working? Is it? Is it even getting here? Let's put a breakpoint. It is. Spawn system at location. Now, why is that not working? Maybe it's just like a really crappy. Okay, so I think what happens is it spawns the ball, but the ball is spawned and moved to my finger really quickly. So the particle effect should happen after the ball moves to my finger. All right, I think that's the issue here. There's a really weird issue, but I think that's what's happening. So, for instance, all right, so this is what's happening. The ball gets spawned at a location that is not exactly there. So this is like a lie, is what I'm thinking. But right after we call bind to flick event, or right when we set this active object, then it's moved to my finger. Man, that sucks. So where does that happen at? This isn't the right controller. We need the hoops. Oh, we need a different controller. The arcade baller player controller. No. Hoops player controller. Now, is this where it happens? So this active object is then moved to where my finger is. So a couple ways to test this would be have the particle effect attached to the thing, to the ball itself. So as I move the ball around, the particle effect will stay relative to my finger. That's not what I want, but it would at least prove my theory. It would prove my theory that that's what's happening. So let's just try that. So this is how we're going to try it. We are going to put this back the way it was. So let's spawn. Nope. Let's Niagara spawn system attached. We want to attach it to. Oh man, we can't attach it because it's not a component. But we can get this ball and get the component from it. Keep relative offset, auto activate. It's not working still. Oh, I didn't pick a thing. Particle system. No, that's not working either. Oh, come on. Now I'm just like grasping at straws here. Simple explosion. No, it's not working. Um, I just don't know why it's not working. Hmm. Well, this makes me sad. just because I thought it should work. That's how I thought. I don't see why it's not working. But making a game is full of disappointments all the time, and that's okay. Um, you know what? I'm gonna put a pin in this, and I'll just come back to it because, like I said 15 or 20 minutes ago, we don't need it to do this. I just had it in my mind that I wanted it to do it. And then I just got sad thinking, I thought I understood how particle systems work. I thought it should work like that, and it didn't. But what is more important is that this ball actually disappears. So let us do that. So we call meteor ball dispatch. Right? Now, what else needs to subscribe to this? So we put our finger there, and it sends an event saying, go spawn the ball. All right. And since we want the source of truth to be the player state, we want the player state to remove the ball. And this UI should just reflect it. It shouldn't actually do anything. It shouldn't remove the ball. So that's how we're going to do this. So we have an event to listen to. Let's go to our player state. Um, player state. We're gonna go here, and we'll leave that all there. In our event graph, we want to bind to, hey, the ball has been dispatched. So we have this, which fills the bar up, and we want another one that is dispatched. So let's see, incremented. Where is our dispatched created? Here in our event graph. Where? So meteor ball dispatched. Now what I'm looking here is how do we get a reference to this meteor icon? Oh, so we don't bind to it right away. We bind it. Okay. So we must bind it somewhere in here. Yep, here. So right here, when we create the icon, we immediately bind it to the dispenser. What we need to do is bind it to the player state. Cool. Okay, we can do that. Do we have a variable for that? Camera, player controller, player state. Do we get that from the controller? We do. I don't want to. I'm just gonna. Hoops player controller. And get player state. No. Get player state. That's what we want. We want to get player state. We want to cast to the correct player state. We will do that right here. And we will. Where is it? Here. We have this. And we want to say, hey, bind to meteor gauge. Yeah. Bind to meteor icon. And I guess we could pass in which icon, because why not? So meteor icon, meteor icon. And I don't know, we might not even need that. And what we do here is we take this icon and we say bind to dispatch event. And we create an event. And we create a matching function. And in here, this is where we say meteor gauge value -1. So we decrease the meteor gauge value. But we only do this if it's greater than 0. So if the meteor gauge value greater than 0, now we also could have clamped it to 0 or something, but I think I'm going to favor this so I could actually do something else. So now we do that, and then we call the meteor gauge decremented dispatcher. So we're going to make a meteor gauge decremented dispatcher. And again, we might not need to know which meteor gauge, but we'll add it. So meteor icon. Cool. So we'll lower that, and then we'll say it had. Now, the dispatcher says it has been done. So that's why we need to make sure it does it first. It's not like telling it to go ahead and decrement. It's not like a function decrement it. It's saying it was decremented. So now we're going to call this. Um, and the one that we removed. Now, since since we should be able to count on that ball still being in the gauge, because the thing that's responsible for removing it, um, since this is the source of truth, we can guarantee that as long as this player state has, this meteor gauge a certain number, that's how many are in the UI. So it's safe to say um, that it still exists. Now, this event should have the meteor icon. Maybe maybe this should be down here. Condition. There. That looks better. So I'm going to save that. Now, where do we call this function? Right here. Um, the dispatch ball event. Meteor ball dispatch event. And then we call this auto function here, which takes a meteor icon. And I'm a little confused. It's probably not going to compile. All right. That's okay. So it needs to match this function. All right. So the ball dispatch event, which happens here, needs to have which ball. So we're going to add meteor icon so we know which one. We'll call it meteor icon. Save that. Now, when we create the event, hey, oh, it didn't compile it. Is that why it didn't? Okay, oops, game mode. What am I doing here? Okay, here we need to compile this. And we need to pass in the meteor icon, which is self. Could not find a parameter meteor icon. Hey, feel like that should work. What? Call meteor ball dispatch event. Meteor ball dispatch event. I probably need to remove it, compile it. And now when I drag it out, okay, so that was probably the problem. Call, there we go. Reference to self. So now I know which one. We compile that. And now we compile this. Now we bind to meteor ball dispatch event. Now we create the event, create a matching function. Now it's got the meteor icon. That's what we wanted. But now I forget what. Bind to meteor icon. Spawn meteor ball. So, and dispenser, we say this is what we want to do over here. But we don't need this meteor icon in this case, which is cool. And we can get rid of this because we're not using it anymore. All right. Now, what else is using it? Now this is probably different now. It's all right. So decremented dispatcher. Why is it yelling here? Now, oops. Where's my event graph? Bind event fire gauge filled. Add to meteor gauge. Bind to meteor icon. So now we need to create an event. Which one was it? Okay, it was an autogen function. Is it this one? What if I remove this? Alright, so we bind event to meteor ball dispatch event. Create this. And now reduce the value and the meteor icon. So if it's not set to 0, reduce it, and then we tell it to remove it. By calling decrement. Okay. Now, how do we do the incremented one? Let's see. Shots incremented. So the meteor gauge binds to that. And we want to do like kind of the same thing. Oops, we don't need two of those. But decremented. We create an event. Meteor gauge decremented. And what happens here is we remove the icon. Remove meteor icon, but we need to pass in which one. So we'll tell it meteor icon, meteor icon, and we will get the vertical box, remove child, and we can tell it which one. Awesome. That might do it. Remove meteor icon. All right. Let's see what happens. No sense wasting time. It looks like it didn't work. Let's see if it's actually trying to remove it. Looks like it did not. Did we ever wire that part up? Let's see. Gauge decrement. So when does that happen? That happens. Dispatch. Call meteor dispatch. Okay, cool. When we call meteor dispatch, that happens here. Let's just take a look real quick. Meteor ball dispatched. What? Dispatch. Meteor ball dispatch. And where do we bind to dispatch? Meteor ball. Bind event to meteor ball dispatch. Oh, cool. I'll check that out later. I'm not looking at who's watching. So I just always assume that nobody's watching me and I'm just doing this for myself. But thank you. Bind to meteor icon. Bind event to meteor ball dispatch. In the dispenser. Right, this is where it happens. So when I spawn the ball, spawn meteor ball at touch location. All right, great, great, great. This is it. This is where I have to do it. When I spawn here, I want to spawn the meteor ball, and then I also want to tell it to decrement. Spawn meteor ball at touch location. I want to make sure. Yeah, this is where it happens. So here, I wish it didn't cut off like that, but it should happen here. All right, so let's put a break here, and then just make sure that that gets called when I pull a ball out, and it's not. Very interesting. Um, Meteor ball dispatch event. Oh, bind to meteor icon. That should be happening every time I create one. That should happen every time I create one. Let me just check my work schedule here. All right, I'm good. Um, oh, that's right. I didn't bind it yet. Oh, come on. Oh, bind to meteor icon. And that's the issue. God, I was getting so confused. There's so many things happening in this one system here. And now it stops here. Great. Resume. Now we use the balls, and they should fill up again. Oh, it still didn't work. Oh, maybe it only happens for regular ball? I don't know. I mean, just as a sanity check. Nope. So I, in fact, do want this here. And let's see. My decrement dispatcher, I want to make sure I put a breakpoint there too. Um, let's see. Where am I binding to my bind call? Am I not binding to the decremented? It should be happening in the gauge. Oh, unbind. Incorrect. Bind event to meteor gauge decremented. Ah, sneaky. Now, will it work, please? I should stop there. I'm just, I always assume it works, right? So now, come on. I think I need to adjust the ball's bounces. God damn it. Man, I really need to start working. Let's see. Looks like this never got called. The decremented, binding event to meteor decremented. So this never got called. Um, and I'm gonna go back to here again. So let's step through. Looks like it thought it was 0. Set visibility collapsed. Okay. Meteor gauge, it's 0, but it shouldn't be 0. All right, so this could be an issue with the way that I'm debugging. You know, where I have my game mode, start firing. It's like this thing here. I'm saying it's incremented, but I never actually incremented it. That's the goddamn issue. So what I need to do to make this test properly is set my meteor gauge value as well to 3. So I got to set this here. This goes here to make this accurate. I say, okay, my meteor gauge starts at 3, and then I pretend I called it 3 times just to get the balls to appear. I don't like it. That just means that it's not truly bound to the player state. Like it should like I guess there's no other way for it to do it other than the UI polling the player state, which isn't too bad. I can have it poll the player state every half a second, quarter second. Maybe I will. Maybe I will implement that. I'll refactor it. But for now we have 3. I'm gonna remove this. Is it 3? Yeah, it's 3. Now it's 3. Now it calls remove. Good, 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 good. Resume. Now let's see if it fills back up. soon as I make a shot. How much time do I waste just trying to test this out? I guess that's the problem with like a skill-based game. Like, oh, it works. It works. Woo! Okay, it works. Awesome. Now I'm gonna go work. Now I'm gonna go work.